All right, we are going to get rolling here in 1 second. Hope everybody can hear me. Just give us a minute, guys. We're going to get everything cranking here in just a minute. Give everybody time to get in, and we're going to just talk. It's just a bunch of friends, bunch of Florida followers talking about today's amazing win, which quite frankly didn't look like it was going to happen at various points in the game. So come in here, celebrate this pretty amazing comeback, 41-39 Florida win. I'm Keith Niebuhr with Gators Online. So everybody just hang tight for about 15, 20 seconds. Let's let everybody that wants to jump in, and we'll take comments. I'll post as much as I can, and we're just going to have a good old time because when you win a game like that, I think you all just want to celebrate. You didn't think you were going to win. I know a lot of you probably had just given up hope, right? Had just thought it was over. But it was a big one today in Columbia, South Carolina, as the Florida Gators improved to 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the Southeastern Conference. Let's get to some comments here. I'm going to post as many of them as I can. Huge win for Florida, which, by the way, had only won on the road once in Billy Napier's 2 seasons as Florida coach, and that was at Texas A&M last year. Let's recap what Florida did on the road before today. The 24-11 kind of embarrassing loss in week 1 at Utah, where Florida trailed 24-3 very early in the third quarter. Very ugly loss. Then the loss at Kentucky, which was even worse because it was 16-0 after 1 quarter and 23-0 fairly early in the second quarter. And that was really embarrassing. So to come back today, and obviously South Carolina is not a great team, but to get those demons out of your system, to put them in the past, to get over that hurdle. And most importantly, Florida's trying to finish with the winning season and get to a decent bowl game. And if you lose today's game, you're 4-3. You got an off week, and then you play Georgia. Tough game. Could be 4-4. Then you come back with some losses. Arkansas at home, which is a very physical team and nearly took down Alabama. I think that was in Tuscaloosa today. So you needed to win today because when you look at the remaining schedule for Florida, again, Georgia and Jacksonville in 2 weeks. The week after that, Arkansas, very physical team at home. Then you go to LSU. Then you go to Missouri. Then you have Florida State at home. So entirely different dynamic winning today. Changes everything. It keeps a winning record on the table. And for a program that's trying to make strides, that's significant. I have to be honest. I don't know if Florida has a realistic shot at a winning record had they not won today. Let's get to some more comments. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can. At one point, Florida trailed 37-27 with 9:11 left in the game. 37-27 with 9:11 left in the game. And there were some key plays that led to that. You'll recall that Florida was driving and Graham Mertz got sacked. Florida had a chance ahead 3 to maybe get ahead 6, maybe get ahead 10, couldn't score. South Carolina went down and scored. So it felt like the game was getting away. And I know Gator fans. I grew up in Gainesville. My parents are Gator fans. I know how they are. I know that a lot of people were sitting there ready to throw in the towel. Here we go again. This is starting to feel like the 1970s and 1980s all over again. But this team had no quit. At 37-27, Florida went 75 yards in 14 plays and made it 37-34 on Arlis Boardingham's 4-yard touchdown reception from Graham Mertz, and we're going to get to Graham Mertz's play today, which was sensational for the most part. A lot more incompletions than we're used to seeing, but made the big plays when it counted. At 37-34, Florida then stopped South Carolina, got the ball back with a few minutes left, went right down the field, 75 yards, 9 plays, a minute 56, faced a significant 4th down on that drive too, significant. And Florida had several 4th down conversions in this game. But at 4th and 10 in their own territory, Graham Mertz rolled his right, flung the pass up in the air with both feet off the ground. Ricky Pearsall had one-on-one coverage on the outside. Pearsall turned, went in front of the defensive back, caught the ball. Season's shot if you don't catch that. Florida then goes right down. A few plays later, Mertz finds Pearsall, this time on a post over the middle. Sound familiar? Little Danny Werfel to Chris Doring post. 21-yard pass with 47 seconds left. That made it 41-37 Florida. And here's something that was significant too. When South Carolina went up 37-27, they botched the extra point. They could have been up 11. So 11, and then Florida scores a couple touchdowns, and you're only down 3, so they may only need a field goal, but they needed a touchdown at the end. Spencer Rattler was picked off, I believe, by Miguel Mitchell with 20 seconds left in the game, and Florida kind of, South Carolina still had its timeouts, and so Florida had to take a safety to kind of just salt the thing away. But a significant rally. Florida scored 14 points in the fourth quarter after having allowed 15 points in the fourth quarter. We're going to get to some statistics here. I know everybody's pretty excited about this game. Still concerned. You can still be concerned about the direction. You can still be concerned about the offensive line and the defensive line, which was not great for most of the day, and still celebrate a win. You can be two things, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't need to be too negative. You can enjoy this one and then worry about worry about what the roster looks like later on. But final stats, Florida, 28 first downs, okay? 28, South Carolina, 23. We mentioned this earlier, fourth down efficiency. Florida was 3 of 4 on fourth down, 4 of 15. That's it on third down. Total yards, 494 yards on the road against South Carolina. Not a great team, not a great defensive team, but 494 yards. Now, the flip side of that is the Gamecocks had 465 yards, 313 through the air, 152 on the ground. That's a lot of yards for a team that's had a banged up and, quite frankly, ineffective offensive line. So Florida's defense really was not great today, but you have to give them credit, did make some key stops late in the game, and that matters too. At the end of the day, statistics are for assistant coaches and the losers, right? But 465 yards is a lot, and that's potentially problematic down the road. The defensive line of Florida, not as strong as it was perhaps early in the season, but still, nonetheless, a win is a win. Okay, let's look at some other stats. Florida only had 71 yards rushing. That's incredible. 423 passing. 423 passing. And the difference was in the Utah games, there were hollow yards. Graham Mertz got a lot of yards passing late when Florida was really out of the game. Same thing happened in Lexington. Today, they weren't hollow yards. They were yards that put Florida ahead early, kept Florida in the game throughout, got them back the lead late in the game, helped Florida rally for this kind of an epic comeback win. So they were not just yards being given to you by the defense. Graham Mertz made significant plays when it counted. The offensive line held up on those last couple drives, okay? Held up on those last couple drives. Here's another one. South Carolina had more penalties today than Florida. That is significant. 6 penalties for 48 yards for Florida, 9 for 82 for South Carolina. Now, obviously, there was one big one for Florida, potentially big on South Carolina's next to the last drive when there was a late hit on, I believe, Cam Jackson on the quarterback for South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, but Florida was able to overcome that. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 44 seconds for Florida, 27 minutes, 16 seconds for South Carolina. Turnovers, South Carolina 2, Florida 1. Individual statistics here, and we're going to get into these. Graham Mertz, again, 30 of 48. Not his best completion percentage today, but he made a lot more throws downfield than we're used to seeing. None other than Steve Spurrier complained, I want to see more deeper balls. Well, you saw it today. Some of them weren't great. They're harder to complete, obviously, but he completed some. He completed a big one to Khalil Jackson in the first half, which then led to a touchdown, some plays to Pearsall. There were a lot more downfield throws. I mean, not everything's got to be 50 yards downfield. 15 yards downfield is a good distance. 30 of 48 for Graham Mertz, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He continues to take care of the football. That is incredibly significant. A turnover in this game would have been deadly for the Gators. Let's just be honest, because every possession counted because the game, and I'm trying to get to everybody's comments too. Every possession counted in this game. Every possession meant something, right? Rushing for Florida, Montrell Johnson, 11 carries for 50 yards. He had some big runs. He really did. Trevor Etienne, 9 carries for 49 yards. Receiving, Ricky Pearsall, maybe his best game as a Gator. 10 catches, 166 yards. The go-ahead touchdown at the end. The game, what do you call it? They kept Florida in the game. It's over if they don't complete that 4th and 10, 26-yard pass on that final go-ahead touchdown drive. 10 catches, 166 yards, again, 1 touchdown. Eugene Wilson, again, outstanding particularly in the open field, showed some tough running today. A couple of Florida guys went out of bounds before taking hits. He didn't. 6 catches for 83 yards. He also had 3 carries for 10 yards. Arlis Boardingham, redshirt freshman tight end, continues to get it done. His ceiling just seems to get higher each week. 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Khalil Jackson, 2 big catches, both on that same first half drive for 52 yards with a long of 45. Florida throwing the ball deep. Florida making longer plays in the passing game. I'm only read some stats off to you. Long catch of the day for Ricky Pearsall, 26 yards. Long catch for Eugene Wilson, 30. Arla Sportingham, 24 yards. Khalil Jackson, 45 yards. Tight end Hayden Hansen, 16 yards. Running back Montrell Johnson, 11 yards. Wide receiver Marcus Burke, 14 yards. Florida was getting the ball down the field more than we've seen. All right? A lot of it is, you give them what you how do I say this? You take what they give you. I'm like struggling with the English language here. Defensively, let's look at some numbers. So Spencer Rattler, 23 of 30, but some big incompletions late. 4 touchdowns, but the interception where Florida started getting more pressure on him those last couple of drives, and it really paid off. Mario Anderson, boy, he's a hell of a running back for South Carolina. He's great after contact, tough to tackle, and 20 carries for 98 yards. And so just a lot going on. So anyway, for those that don't know, I'm Keith Niebuhr with Gators Online. I'm high energy, hyper after these games, win or loss. I want to keep this thing flowing. You can vent, you can be thrilled, you can say whatever you want, okay? But I would prefer you celebrate this one. You should never apologize after winning. But it was a significant win. We're going to get to as many of these comments as possible. Some of my coworkers are going to try to join us. Florida improves to 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the SEC. 1 game back of Georgia in the SEC East standings. Believe it or not, guys, Florida controls its own destiny in the SEC East. You beat Georgia in 2 weeks and you win out. You're going to Atlanta. It seems improbable. I just don't think this is the roster that can get Florida there. But, Georgia didn't beat Vanderbilt today, I believe, by less than what Florida beat Vanderbilt by. Now, that was in Nashville, a little bit different. Tight end Brock Bowers, Georgia's best player, I think by far, injured today. We don't know the severity of that. That's why you play the games. I mean, we're pulling for him to be healthy. We don't want anybody to be hurt. We want everybody at full speed, but that's the breaks. That's the breaks of college football, okay? So we're going to get into the game in a second. Corey Bender of Gators Online is going to join me. He's actually talking to a bunch of recruits right now, trying to get some recruit reaction. We know they're excited. I'm going to take some questions here, but please get them all in here. We're going to talk about this game. I want to know what everybody was most pleased with. Let's try to keep it positive. The boys deserve some positivity. Neil says, Keith, how was your flight to Willis, Texas? Let me guess, you flew American? No, I flew Southwest because Willis, Texas is in North Houston. Flew Tampa nonstop to Hobby Airport, the older airport in Houston, and had a good friend out there, Jerry Hamilton of On3, drive me around for 2 days. Had a great time meeting DJ Lagway, his family, hanging out with them. I knew the parents already. Other family members, his girlfriend, the athletic director at the school, who, by the way, was a badass linebacker at Texas A&M. We have more coming on DJ Lagway, but I suggest anybody watching this, if you go back into our channel and you haven't already, we've done some significant YouTube shows with DJ Lagway just in the last 72 hours. Go check them out. This is an exceptional young man. Watched his game last night. He was 20. I mean, the competition wasn't great. He was 26-29, 543 yards, 5 touchdowns passing, 1 touchdown rushing. He did what you expect an elite 5-star recruit to do against an inferior opponent. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. You play who's in front of you. But if you're an elite guy, you need to dominate in those games, and that's exactly what he does. All right, let's get to some more comments here. Appreciate everybody stopping by. If you like what we're doing at Gators Online, please like our I got to get all this stuff figured out at some point. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, pass it along, leave a comment. It's cool. You can be critical of me, no problem. But I want to know what you were most impressed with in this game. What pleased you the most? Because it was a hell of a comeback, 41-39. Like I said, I think a lot of us thought it. I know when our message board thread, somebody said game over, and I think my response was probably, because how many Gator teams have been down 10 in our lifetimes in the fourth quarter with 9 minutes left and one? Not that many. No, it doesn't happen every day. Now, when Steve Spurrier was coach, they weren't down by 10 points in the fourth quarter very often. You had to come back at Kentucky, but I think that was just a couple of 3 points. I mean, you didn't have a ton of them. There was another big comeback at Kentucky when Ron Zook was the coach, when I think Florida was down 17 or 18. There was the huge comeback, which I still think is the best comeback in Florida history, at Florida Field in 1986 when Auburn was unbeaten and number 4 in the country. Florida trailed 17-0 in the fourth quarter and won miraculously 18-17. So there's been some of those. But this was when you think about what this meant to Florida and to Billy Napier, I think this game is up there because I think this was the most important game to date for Billy Napier. 6-7 last year, now 5-2 this year. Again, if you don't win today, that path, during elections, they'll say a path to the amount of electoral votes you need. Well, the path to 6 wins in the regular season would have been a hell of a lot tougher if you don't win today. And I know South Carolina's nothing great, but a road win's a road win. Now, what does the old saying go? I think it was from the arch enemy, Bobby Bowden. First you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. Is Florida now in that win close? Are the close losses out of the system? We'll see. A potentially huge progress game for Florida. Now, if they go out and they lose the next 4 games, we'll forget about it. But they had to get over this one hurdle. Let's see what we got here. Billy called a good game. The good defense needs to help on the road. Yeah, defense was hot and cold. I mean, they gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points, but made some plays at the end. You have to credit them. I mean, I thought the defensive line really struggled setting the edge at times during the game. Broke contain too many times, but again, made the plays at the end when it counted. All right. James Williams says going for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal was a game changer. Much respect for Billy. Hey, my issue with that, I agree with you. I thought when it was 3rd and 1, why are you throwing to the end zone? Get the first down. I mean, because then you'd have 2 shots at the first down, but hey, it worked out. What I say is when you win a game, you don't go back and you don't second guess anything because anything would change everything else after that. When you win, you just take the win, right? But I agree with you, James. Gutsy call, pitch to ETN. He gets 2.5 yards. They scored the next play. Huge play. So many big 4th down conversions in that game. Again, Florida had 3 of them. Neil says Trey Wilson, also known as Eugene Wilson, the freshman receiver from right down where I'm at in Tampa, Florida. He's something. He took a shoulder hit, but I guess it didn't hurt his collarbone. He's a tough little guy, isn't he? He is. He's got something special about him. People are comparing him to Percy Harvin. I think that's a tough comparison because Percy was built more like a brick outhouse. I mean, I don't know. I mix my things up, but yeah, I mean, just this guy's tough. He's just a lot smaller than Percy. Can't weigh that much. Boy, he makes people miss though. There's nothing he can't do well. He is tough. He knows where to be. He's physical. He runs to the chain. He doesn't run out of bounds. He runs into contact. He runs through contact. The guy's 170 pounds. He's 170 pounds. What more can he be doing right now? I think that's a guy that is going to be just a special player over the next few years. Eric's not thrilled with the defense. So, we've got Corey Bender going to join us in 1 second. Wicked Fresh says big heads up play by Trey and boarding him. That's right. There was the pass over the middle that I think went to Pearsall, if my memory's right, off his hand. Eugene Wilson catches it, picks up another 20 yards. I mean, to come back from 10 down, you got to get some breaks too. But you make your own breaks. You get in the right place at the right time. You convert on 4th down. You block your man. You make your tackle. You get the interception when it's in your hands. All right, let's bring in Corey Bender. He's talking to recruits. Corey, how do I get you in here? Let's see. There we go. Hey, Corey, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, you hear me?
All right, you got to do some work. I get to just sit here and BS everybody for now. You're communicating with recruits right now. What's the feedback right now after this huge Florida win?
It's been really, really positive. I don't want to give away all the stuff on here, obviously, but, Jordan Seam, we spoke to him. He was highly impressed. We spoke to, Hilton Stubbs, another kid, 2025 recruit, Tarvos Elford. So a lot of priority recruits were really kind of pleased, and they thought Jordan Seaton kind of mentioned, he said the old Florida's coming back, and I thought that was a pretty quotable thing from him. He definitely kind of saw the growth on the road and saw Florida battle adversity. So, and I think, too, I'm waiting to hear back from Ryan Montgomery and his father as well. They're at the game, and obviously it's a priority quarterback recruit, for next cycle. So I think overall, obviously, everyone was very pleased, but I think the way they battled was the biggest feedback that I got.
I'm going to try to get to as many comments as possible. Remember, we don't have a producer. We're doing this ourselves, and let's just be honest. Corey and I are not the 2 smartest guys in the world here, okay? So just bear with us. The deflection.
I'm not going to argue that one at
all. No. We're smart enough to not argue that we're not smart. That's the only thing I would say.
Nasir Johnson was another one that was impressed. I thought was key.
And that's a big one, Corey. That's a big one. They can't lose that guy. 4-star defensive lineman. The deflection off of Pearsall was a godsend. Hey, who was it that used to say God smiled on the Gators today? One and only Stephen Orr Spurrier. Greedy wants to know, Keith, will you talk to committed and uncommitted recruits about this one? Well, that's what Corey's doing right now. So we're getting to that. And these questions, I'm just getting caught up. So Greedy, I know you're not. I know you're paying attention there. Everybody wants to know about recruiting right now. I mean, that's the lifeblood of the program. Corey, you and I were kind of making fun of the team through the game because it was up and down. And here we go again.
Yeah.
You have a chance to go up 10, and 5 minutes later, you're down 10. And I didn't think Florida was – I didn't think Florida was going to win. When they were down 10, I'm thinking, not only did I not think they were going to win, I thought they might lose by 17. Yeah. But as that one drive came together, that first drive, they were so poised. They were so poised, and they got that 4th down conversion and then the TD to Boardingham. And that's when I thought, I think they are going to win this. I think they are going to win it because at that point, the pressure really shifted to South Carolina. Corey, what were you look, it was a weird game. It was so back and forth. I mean, I think the thing I'm most impressed with was this game because the defense wasn't great, but made plays late. But I thought the O-line held up on those last few drives when it counted. But Graham Mertz,
he's been the surprise of the year.
He did not have it. Well, and again, I always talk about those hollow yards, yards where you're getting the doors blown off you by Kentucky and they don't really mean much. You're completing passes because that's what they're giving to you. But today was something. That was it's a heck of a performance. Go back, Corey. Well, I'll put this. Let me just say this while you're.
Well, one thing I will add while you're doing that too is I think his experience, which I feel like I've kind of been hammering on the past couple of weeks, they needed someone, especially at that quarterback position. You're going through a makeover, a lot of new skill guys, a lot of new faces. I mean, as good as Eugene Wilson is, he's still a true freshman, learning the ropes as he goes. Having a guy like Graham Mertz, even just watching that post-game interview, just really carries himself well. Kind of carries himself how a leader in that locker room is supposed to be at the quarterback position. So what I thought was really impressive too is just what I could tell the shift is when Boardingham got that 4th down conversion. It was just those plays in the past Florida wouldn't get. And you see maybe a pre-snap penalty or just something wouldn't go their way. Maybe it was a poorly thrown ball that would make the receiver have to kind of shift a little bit. I think Boardingham, I mean, I don't want to say, obviously, I think MVP, there's so many guys with ETN throughout the season. But as far as the most needed guy to step up, I think Boardingham, they needed a guy at tight end to make a splash. And the good thing is he's a redshirt freshman too. So hopefully you can kind of lean on that in recruiting and show these guys, hey, we're going to utilize you if you come through.
Corey, every week, new guys are emerging on offense. The offense is evolving. The offense is getting better. The defense is taking a couple steps back. It's kind of funny. It's I think 3-4 weeks ago, we're all thinking, hey, if they win anything, they're going to have to win 17-14. And now it's, now the defense is going to be searching for. They got to kind of figure out, well, okay, how do we start slowing people down? What can we do?
I picked them to lose today. I'll be the first one to say it. Like you look at that road record, and even the Kentucky game, I went with Florida, but deep down, I'll be the first one to admit it. I kind of thought, well, maybe that'll change this week. But this team's unpredictable.
Corey, you just did. Sorry, I interrupted you. You kind of had the right idea. Hey, before I pick these guys to win, they need to show me something.
Yeah,
but today they showed us. Look, I still don't think it's I really don't think any of you all think this. I don't think Florida. Maybe you do. I don't think it's the greatest roster in the world. And a lot of the best talent is young. Now, those guys still need more seasoning. They're not going to be just blowing people out. That's not what this team is. That's why I think every win is so significant. Corey, I got to ask you, I talked about this earlier. If they don't win today, I just don't see a path to even a 6-6 regular season.
Yeah.
And now I do. Now I think, you might be able – I'm watching – every week things change. So Missouri was the hot team a couple weeks ago. Well, now Kentucky's beating Missouri 14-0 in the first quarter and about to get the ball back. Missouri's about to hit the meat of its schedule too. All right, so Florida's a little bit more battle-tested. So maybe all of a sudden – by the time you play Missouri, you might be on even footing with them. And that's up there. It's going to be cold. But in other words, sometimes a game that you write off as a loss in September, by the time you play that team, you may be doing this. And here's why I knew Florida I felt like Florida needed to win, Corey, because when you have young talent, it's going to get better throughout the season. However, if you're doing this with your talent, but your record's doing this, sometimes you start thinking you're playing like you're a 4-win team, even though you have 7-8-win talent. So they needed to see some results, I felt like, And
I thought too, I think they needed to win this game just to show them in the locker room, hey, we can do this. We can go on the road Yeah, I think just overall, and also it gives them just a good mindset going to that bye week. And I mean, Georgia's obviously Georgia, but it's not the best Georgia team we've seen, obviously, in recent years. And
Yeah.
I mean, who really knows? I mean, honestly, we know how football is. It's all about, momentum and injuries, or, just so many different things could factor into, that midseason success. So
we got a lot of
people too with Florida. I think the same thing. Defense, they miss a lot of tackles. I think
Yeah.
even dating back to last season, that's something they have to clean up. But yeah, I thought overall, though, on the road, they got the victory. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a hard-fought victory with some young guys. You can't take that away from them.
Look, South Carolina, I mean, they're 2-4, but they know how to score the football. They know how to score points, right? They're going to beat somebody this year pretty good. It'll happen. Because the SEC is kind of all over the map right now. It seems like there's a couple really good teams. And look, Corey, even and again, by the way, this is why this win was so important. Look what Arkansas did today, narrowly losing to Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I think that was in Tuscaloosa. And so every game is going to be tough from here out. But, if you get to 6 or 7 wins and Florida State comes to town and you're feeling good about yourself and you've got that home crowd at the Swamp, anything's possible. This team is growing. The offense is evolving. I know there were still people that not thrilled with play calling here and there, but I always say I never go to play calling first. Most fans go to play calling first. That's the first complaint. Corey, for me, I'm always looking at the players and the line. And when you look at Florida, that's still really where Florida's weakness is. Offensive line first, defensive line's becoming they haven't played great in a few recent games, Kentucky and then today. So that to me is where Florida needs to get better. Here's somebody greedy says need to recruit better on the offensive line. I couldn't agree with you more. Here's somebody says preseason press said Napier should be coach of the year if they win 7 games. That's possible. I mean, there's some improvement. There's some real strides.
Another good one saying that you and I are negative and we hopefully don't have a bad impact on recruits.
Who said that?
There's one up there about us. Which one is it? Between Keith and you throw too much shade, you have too much impact on many of the whiners. I hope you have no impact on recruits. I'll tell you what, Keith and I are
recruits like us because first of all, we don't. Let me explain something to you.
Yep.
You as fans do not want recruiting writers to be diehard fans.
Yep.
You don't want us reading them depth charts. You don't want us telling them why they should go to Florida. You know why? The coaches get paid to do that. The staffers get paid to do that. They're professionals at that. First of all, we would be terrible at that. I went to Florida. I grew up at Florida. Nobody can question anything I know or think about this university. I've got as much invested in this place as anybody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I need to be rah-rah. We just play it even. We let the recruits talk to us. We don't say, hey, what'd you think of that horrible Florida play on 3rd down? You know who has a bigger negative impact on recruits than we do? You guys, the fans. I love all of you. But they go on the message boards and they see the negativity. We're not negative with these guys at all. At all. I love being around kids. I think I had somebody tell me this the other day, Corey. They watched the interview I did with DJ Lagway in person the other day.
That was awesome.
Somebody said, hey, it just seems like you like being around these guys. Love it because it makes me feel young, man. I'm getting old, dude, So I love that. We are not influencing recruits, trust me. All right. Kerwin Bell props. Kimber got roasted today. Kimber did not have his best game. There's no doubt about that.
I thought he bounced back as the game went on a little bit, but yeah, he definitely had his problems. He got a little too physical downfield, some costly penalties, but I thought that was another thing. I thought he played a little bit better as the game went on,
Yeah. A lot of good comments. By the way, I wasn't taking a shot at the person that posted that. I just want you to know the place that we come from. We're professionals. Yeah. We really do like these kids. We want what's best for these kids. In fact, a lot of coaches that recruit them, they didn't even talk to them after they sign with somebody else or commit to somebody else. I have relationships, and Corey, I know you do too, with kids that play. Justin Fields, the kids that played all over the country.
Well, it's funny you say that because I want to just say this too, just so people know. Like when you get to know these kids and you know them when they have their first offer, you just want them to do good. I mean, you just want them, you root for them, you just want them to be in a good, successful situation. Like Gregory Russo, who went to Miami, who's with the Bills now. I still keep up with him. He's a great kid, one of the nicest kids I've ever talked to. And so it's one of those things too. We don't care, man. We just want the best for the kids.
Want every kid to be productive, more than anything, a productive system. But anyway, enough about that. I'm sorry.
Is Devin Moore hurt? That's a good question.
I don't know. We'll get our team guys to get into that. Let's get to some questions or some comments here. Neil says, I was happy. And sorry, guys, we got so many comments. Everybody's buzzing about this win. So we're going to try to get to as many of them as we can. And we're sorry if we don't. But like what we're doing, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to our YouTube page. Right now, Gators Online, $1. Get your foot in the door, $1 for 1 month of coverage. Corey's already got a story up with recruit reaction. So Neil says, I was happy with Napier running the offense with some urgency. Mertz attempted 48 passes. How about that, Corey? 48 passes, only 33 rush attempts today, and a few of them were late when they were just taking victory formation type knees. And so, we always thought if you passed more than you ran with Graham Mertz, it was probably bad. Utah, they passed more than they ran. Kentucky, they passed more. But this was a little bit different. They were passing while the game was competitive early. And Corey, we can't underestimate, even though the game was back and forth in the first half, they weren't blown out. They were in the game, unlike they were at Utah and Kentucky. Corey, you good on time? You got a few more minutes? You got to go.
Oh no, yeah, I'm just keeping up recruits. I'm just hanging out, man. You're good.
Wicked Fresh. Just gotta hope this flipped the switch for them. Like Corey said, confidence. Here we go. Percy Carvin bench 400 and was like 5'10". But Percy was like just a brick. Let's see. F. All good says, listen to you. Do you realize they prepped for 2 weeks to play us at home? I agree. And not only that, hey, that's a hell of a point. And not only that, it gave South Carolina a chance to get healthy. Now they were without, their good receiver, Juice. He did not play today. I can't remember his last name. Maybe Juice.
I can't even.
Very good player. But that's, Florida was out. You're always without guys. That's just the way it goes. But no, this is an excellent point. And that's why Florida and Georgia would always complain if one or the other got the open week before that, the cocktail party in Jacksonville. Now they both get it the same week. Great point. All good. Appreciate that. Tony says, I can't even read. I'm getting blind. Hit that like. Go get it. Hey, thank you, man. Yeah, appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's get to these. Oh, God, we got so many comments, Corey.
Someone said, where's Des Watson? He's in there. I mean, the thing is, too, a lot of these nose tackles, that's what makes Cam Jackson so good. He's very active for such a big guy. It really, you see a lot of those nose guards, they just plug. They plug those A gaps and they kind of just break everything down and make it a mess down there. But it kind of, when you see that, that's what kind of, when you see Des Watson, that's his role. It makes you show when you see Cam Jackson how special of a player is, why Florida went after him in the portal.
That's right. I'm going to put up a few of these comments here. Graham Mertz, tough hombre. Couldn't agree with you more. Greedy, South Carolina O-line committed. I don't know. Florida's probably only going to take one more high school guy, Greedy, on the offensive line, and it's Jordan Seaton or maybe one other guy. And
the guys they have in South Carolina's class, they're like Blake Franks, I believe. He was like a high 3-star. It's no one Florida.
I think what's going to happen. Sorry, Corey, I've been interrupting you. I think what's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is Florida's also going to bring in some guys from the portal because they've got to. I think that's one more year they're going to have to bring in some guys from the portal on the offensive line. I don't think there's any question. Too many missed tackles. Agree. Something you work on now. You got the bye week to get healthy. Wicked Fresh. Great comment. That's all good. Ripping me. Huh. Oh, I tell you what. Why don't you hit up the recruits and ask them what they think of us? We'd be more than. We're always open to feedback. Let's see. Eric says, Greedy, have you not seen our 2024 recruit roster? It's pretty awesome. That's a good point, Eric. But here's the thing. You don't want – how many of those guys can play next year? In other words, if you're playing all freshmen and sophomores, then you have more growing pains. So patience is hard in this game today. So you've got to recruit two places at once, high school, portal. And you got to do them at the same time. Yeah. And you got to bring an influx of players in for both. That's how you build your team these days. All right. Let's see. Lucky win. A road win is a big win. Who said lucky win? I know I didn't.
Lucky either. Yeah.
I just want to be clear on that. I didn't. You get luck in the games. You get lucky breaks. South Carolina got.
That's why I think maybe that's what they're referring to. You didn't say luck. Yeah.
Yeah. No luck. No. You win these games fair and square. So many guys stepped up in this game with great plays. Andy, you're absolutely right. Again, let's just look at some stats here. Graham Mertz, 30 of 48, 423 yards, 3 touchdowns. Montrell Johnson, 50 yards rushing. ETN, 49 yards rushing. Pearsall, 10 catches, 166 yards, 1 touchdown. Eugene Wilson, 6 catches, 83 yards. Tough runs after the catch. Tough to tackle in the open field. He may be the best young guy in the SEC at that. Arliss Boardingham, an emerging freshman tight end, 5 more catches today for 55 yards, touchdown. Very good after the catch. Very clutch catches, okay?
I want to add real quick about
Yeah,
Boardingham too. A lot of people, when they saw his size, they're like, "Oh, he's a jumbo. Is he an H-back?" You're starting to see that more common. I think a lot of these guys that aren't the 6'6" prototypical. These guys can operate in space very well, and I think you're seeing at Boardingham. You can do so much with them. I just wanted to add that real quick.
I will not be able to read all these, but I'm going to try to put up as many of them as we can. Somebody's asking about Devin Moore. We're going to try to get our team reporters to find out about that as well. The offense, like I said earlier, is evolving, and I think everybody can see it. Early in the season, you didn't have but one really proven receiver. Then Caleb Douglas stepped up. Khalil Jackson has stepped up. Eugene Wilson has stepped up. So that has helped open things up. Now you have the emergence of pass-catching tight ends in Boardingham. Early on, it was just Odom, but Boardingham, Hanson, and the running backs, even Trayon Webb. I mean, that's a guy that came in recent games and provided some instant offense. So you're seeing the emergence of some younger players. The offensive line has to continue to get better. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's see. Do you think Billy changing the road game routine helped with the win? Whether it did or it didn't, perception in your head becomes the reality. What you did today, you then try to replicate, because what was happening, you just keep doing it. You run with it. It's not even superstition. It's part superstition. It's just like, hey, it's working. Let's do it. Everybody feels comfortable. But I will tell you this, guys, Corey, we ran into a bunch of people out in Salt Lake City, and even with the hurricane, even with them having to go to Dallas for a night, they thought it was great. Some of them thought, hey, maybe that's the way to do it. And then they got didn't play that well. And all of a sudden everybody's like, well, they had so many things thrown their way. But at the time, we had people in the program telling us, hey, this ain't so bad. You just never know till you get out there and play. Good things happen when you throw deep. Rob, it did sometimes. It did. Clayton said they were trying to get back at us for last year's loss, and we beat them in their house. That's a big deal. That is an underrated place to play, Clayton. That's an outstanding point. I think South Carolina, because their record's never great, Corey, kind of, we don't really put too much into how hard it is to play at that place. It's worth points to play there. It is.
That's part of the reason why I went with South Carolina. I mean, Florida struggles on the road, but South Carolina traditionally is a very difficult place to play. Yeah, especially if you don't come prepared. Kind of that middle of the season game.
Greedy wants to know, do you think Billy changing the road? Oh, we already got to that one. Yep, Mr. Bird says, who are the recruits that attended this game that Florida's going to battle South Carolina for? Really one main one, Ryan Montgomery, the 4-star quarterback from Ohio. Corey, what can you tell us about that recruitment?
Yeah, I think right now Florida and South Carolina are probably the top two. I believe Auburn is kind of entering the mix as well. More than likely, he'll be in attendance for the Arkansas game here on November 4th, which will be big for Florida. And, it's funny. I mean, having him go to this game, he was at the Tennessee game as well. So he's seen Florida play twice this year, and they're both SEC thrillers. And then today, Graham Mertz has a really good performance at quarterback. So I feel like overall, it could have been better timing to have him see Florida live. So we'll see where it goes. He's still only a 25 recruit, so a long way to go. But I think Florida, I mean, they could have, I'm waiting to speak with his father. They could have went up another level with them,
Well, and DJ Lagway committed last December as a junior. And so it's really, in a way, it's a long way to go. And in a way, and here we go, now Missouri's making a run. In a way, it's a long way to go. And in a way, it isn't a long way to go. So it can happen fast. All right. Got a prediction. We beat Georgia 36-24. Well, that'd be something. Here's Graham for Heisman. Miami just fumbled at the goal line and North Carolina recovered. Well, all right. Let's get to as many of these. And by the way, the reason why it's kind of hard to hit the scroll button on this, that's tricky. So forgive me here. Another comment said, lucky win. Oh, you were just responding to that. I got you. We appreciate that. I was like, I didn't think it was lucky at all. Trevor Etienne still looked injured and wasn't finishing runs like he normally was. Yeah, one of them almost proved costly. So it's kind of interesting to see if he's still not 100%. We're going to have our team reporters, Nick Delatorre and Zach Albaverdi, look into that. But, Billy's very, I don't want to say paranoid, but he doesn't really you don't want your opponents. They just say upper body injury, lower body. They don't really get too specific anymore, Corey, because they don't want, if they know specifically what's hurt, you're going to have guys punching them in the huddle. I mean, in the pile up and all. I mean, it's a dirty game under there. Okay.
Dude, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. And who knows that firsthand? Miles Graham's dad, the battle at Wounded Knee where the Florida played FSU and he got his knee all twisted up in the pile and then wasn't able to play against Tennessee, and it might have kept Florida out of the national championship game. These young guys are learning how to win. Clayton, you nailed it. Yeah, again, the saying, first you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. If Florida is learning how to win, that's a step in the right direction. Corey, you got something? Oh,
No, I was just uploading the story.
Okay.
Josiah Davis, I was talking to him. He said it was a nail biter, but man, he's super pleased. And just learned of another. I'm going to be typing someone up. Florida's
Yeah.
hitting the road next week to see a certain prospect. So going to write that up here at Gators Online.
Okay.
Well,
we should point out there's always an eye on recruiting. I know most of y'all are here to talk about this game, but with Florida having an open week, the staff will be on the road extensively next week. So you're going to want to be on Gators Online as we try to keep track of where they're going, who they're going to go see. You've got a bunch of schools sniffing around trying to peck away at Florida's commitment list. And so Florida has to continue to keep the foot on the gas with a lot of those guys. What an evaluation by Billy there. I guess you're talking about Graham Mertz. He is talking about Graham Mertz. I agree. I mean, the guy, I think people got mad at me a couple of weeks ago when I said there were a lot of my line of hollow yards. And there were, though, but he wasn't bad. I wasn't saying he wasn't bad. He's been very solid all season, but today and against Tennessee. Now, Tennessee, they played well for half. Today, the offense played really well for much of the game. And Graham Mertz was very good, especially when it counted. He was poised.
One thing with Billy, too, a lot of coaches do this, but Billy doesn't care about the outside noise when it comes to evals and recruiting. Some coaches, you'll see other schools. I remember back in the past, you see Louisville offer a kid, then Purdue would offer a kid 10 minutes later. Billy's just like, he doesn't look at a lot of these other schools a lot of the time. He just goes with their evals. And I think, that goes a lot to say with his confidence level as well.
All right, Florida 41-39 win. We're going to do this for a few more minutes. Corey, we've been on 41 minutes. If you got to go, you let me know. We got a pretty heavy audience here. Florida's 5-2, 3-1, and 1-2 on the road. That first road win. Boy, they needed that this year. Corey, we got a question. Did you get reaction yet from LJ McCray? That's a hard one to reach.
Not yet. And honestly, between him and Zay Mincy, they're not the biggest text type of people. See him in person, amazing kids. Can't say enough good things about him. But yeah, he's announcing next weekend. Also on my son's birthday, so it'll be a fun special day. I think he probably shut it down. We reached out, but we haven't heard back yet.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know that. We always say this, we don't know that one game really sways somebody here or there, but if that one game is part of a pattern, so if Florida loses today, another road loss, the chance of having a winning season goes down the drain, I think. And so Florida's kind of stopped both of those two negative things in its tracks, right? He continues to tell us Florida's doing what they told me they were going to do. That's significant. And he likes the idea of being part of a build. Now, obviously, FSU is right there. He just visited there. Georgia's right there. Depending upon who you talk to, there's buzz about all three of those schools, quite frankly. And I read something the other day that Auburn feels like they've got a real shot. I haven't heard them at all, really. I mean, we know they're in his final five, but that kid's he's keeping it close to the vest. 5-star defensive lineman. All right, Mertz and the offense were very impressive. They kept their cool. I agree with that. If Graham can come back next year, he'll have a Joe Burrow year. Well, you're going to lose Pearsall, I believe, right? But you've got a lot of young receivers, and they're starting to get a lot of playing time right now.
It's just so funny. You look at overall when Mertz was actually committed, the fan base reaction when he committed, how everyone was just throwing. Then now we're talking about having that type of year the following year. It's just crazy how it changes like that.
Well, he may end up being the perfect bridge from the past to DJ Lagway.
100%.
And perfect bridge doesn't mean necessarily 12 wins. It means keeping things afloat sometimes. All right, Corey, 100%. How big was this? Aaron wants to know, how big was this for recruiting momentum?
I definitely do. I think it also had a big impact on those in the class too. I mean, I know there's always been whispers, Florida will lost to Kentucky, and I think a lot of people believed before the season it was going to be kind of a rebuilding year, a lot of bumps in the road. But to show the recruits in the class, hey, we're going, we're going to keep going. We're not going to have one loss, kind of deteriorate the season. And I think, too, they have a lot of young guys playing. So I think for those guys, that was big for them. But recruiting, I think 100%, it just shows a lot of these top kids that they're trending in the right direction. That's what.
Court, I don't know if they'll beat Georgia or not. That's a big ask, the number one team in the country. But I think it's important that they go up to Jacksonville and they fight.
Yeah, be competitive. For sure.
Fight. Charlie Pell lost his first two games to Florida State, but there was progress. Yeah. You could see progress. Then he never lost to him again. All right. Kevin says, was Trevor Etienne the highest rated QB today? 1 of 1 on the 2-point conversion. But no, Kevin, and here's why. Stats from conversions don't count. Those yards don't count. So he's not even listed in the Florida passing chart. That's just a 2-point conversion pass. So
it's a good point.
Yeah, if that makes any sense. In terms of alignment and scheme, what was the defense's problem? Corey, you saw that they lost contain some. You want to speak to that a little bit?
I thought Florida overall, they collapsed the pocket pretty good. Yeah, I think overall it was just, I mean, part of it is Spencer Rattler, as far as the way he can kind of get out of the pocket. He's athletic. I thought his pocket presence was fairly good. So I think that was a little bit of South Carolina just kind of having a heads up and having a good quarterback. But I thought the biggest thing was, missed tackles and in containment. I thought overall a lot of the different blitz packages that they rolled out, I thought they're fairly successful. You could see Rattler was on the move a lot today, this afternoon. So I think overall, there's things to clean up. Any coach would tell you that, but there we go. Yeah. So overall, I think containment and then missed tackles.
What were you watching? I want to make sure.
I'm watching Kentucky, Missouri.
Man. Oh, okay. I think you're a little ahead of me. Here's the thing. I am
ahead of you. Okay. See, that's the problem with having Nick and Zach at these games when you and I are back home.
I know.
I'm thinking I turn my phone the other way if it's a touchdown sequence, just so they don't blow it.
Here's the thing with Spencer Rattler. He buys himself an extra 2 seconds every play because he's not a statue back there.
Yeah.
That makes it tougher to defend. That makes it tougher for the defensive lineman. That makes it tougher for the defensive backs. His mobility creates double moves in their offense, where their offensive line, you wouldn't think they'd have any double moves because their offensive line isn't great. Although I got to say their offensive line played pretty well today for the most part. Eric says Shane Matthews, former Gator quarterback, great. Played when I was at Florida, fantastic player. Said all week how Steve Spurrier on the road would take them to a movie. That's true. Go on the field early and kind of goof off and said we needed to throw it more. I think Napier was listening. Yeah, I don't know this team's routine. Walkthroughs on Fridays aren't as big as they used to be. I don't, used to always go to the other school on a Friday afternoon and walk around their stadium and, all that stuff. But I don't quite always, I don't know this team's every bit of their routine that they're doing. Graham for Heisman next year. I think somebody already mentioned that. Billy was in his bag today. Pearsall has does Pearsall have another year? I can't imagine he's
probably the COVID year too, because he was already in college during COVID.
Remember, I just started covering Florida this year. Can you look that up while I'm talking?
Yeah, I got you.
Pearsall, I thought, had his best game as a Gator today. 10 catches, 166 yards. Boy, that 4th down catch. Boy, that was huge, man. I mean, really, if you look at the throw, Graham threw it right at the DB. Pearsall. You just put it in play, and you have to have faith in your receiver to go get that ball. He was on this side of the DB. He went trying to get this right. He went around the DB in front of the DB to catch the ball at an angle. What a play. What a play. That was an all-world play. To me, that's a better play than the one-handed catch, which was spectacular. That came in a game that didn't really matter. They weren't going to lose to Charlotte.
He's in his 5th year. And 2019, I believe he redshirted. Unless the COVID thing. I'm not the best with this stuff either.
I haven't heard anything about him coming back, but I guess it's a possibility.
But the one thing that gets overlooked, he operates like a shift. Well, he is shifty. He operates so he's 6'1", 190. He's bigger than what people think when you actually see him in person. He might be one of those guys because he's such a precise route runner and the way he sets up defenders. He's one of those guys I could see getting drafted in the day 3. Make a roster. Next thing you know, he has 4 receptions for. Yeah, it just he has that type of game.
He looks like a guy that's either going to be playing for the Rams or playing for the Patriots. He just feels like he fits into what they would do.
Yeah, 100%.
Here's a question. Do we think Graham Mertz will start over the 5-star? That's DJ Lagway. Oh, if he comes back, absolutely. Look, right now, DJ Lagway is sensational. He's playing against teams that, in high school, you may play 2 good teams in a year, right? And those teams may have 1 or 2 D1 guys on them. So, his schedule's about to get tougher. And then when they get in the playoff and they have to start playing some of the Dallas teams, it's going to get tough. And he's a fantastic player with an unbelievable upside. But that's quite a jump. What we believe what's going to happen, what he believes is going to happen is if he comes in and Graham Mertz comes back, they'll have a package of plays for him.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we saw in 2006, guys. You remember that when Chris Leak was there and you had Tim Tebow as a freshman, something like that. The question is if Graham Mertz isn't back, if he says, hey, I'm going pro, what do you do if you're Florida? You still, I think, have to go back in the portal and get somebody.
You need some experience there.
Because it's not about one position or one player to position. It's about the position room. And if you don't go get somebody with experience, and then Lagway struggles early or gets hurt, or I mean, you know what I mean? You got to go get somebody. So I think they're going to be in a good spot either way, but I do think DJ Lagway would be the backup.
And who says Jack Miller? Like someone just said Max Brown. I know he's been kind of making noise behind the scenes as a backup. And then Jack Miller, just hypothetically, I'm not saying he's going to transfer, but if he does, then you have another opening. So I think either way, you need depth in that room. They're going to have to, like he said perfectly, I think you need to go to the portal.
I think if you brought in a guy that's coming in for 1 year, I don't think DJ Lagway wouldn't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, he is not about, I got to start. He wants to. He's competitive as heck. He's about winning and developing. And if you go out there too early and you struggle, man, it can get in your head and it can derail your career. And these guys, Billy Napier and Ryan O'Hara, they do not want to throw a guy out there before he's ready. Now, I'm not saying he won't be ready. I'm just saying they don't want to do that. Why not have a Graham Mertz or an experienced quarterback and help, DJ told me this week when I was out in Texas with him, Corey, that he's looking forward to learning from Graham Mertz. That says a lot.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys.
Maturity level. Like even he said before the season, hey, I know there'll probably be some little bumps in the road, but we're not the type of class that's going to leave. And, like I said, a few losses is going to change stuff. And, after, hearing what you just said, you mix that in, it just shows what type of kid he really is.
We're going to go just for about 5 more minutes. Camden, my eyesight is horrible. This isn't a quick fix, he says, or Camden says, Napier has to build from the ground up. We have to be patient, let Napier cook. That is true to a certain extent. But if you have to show proof of concept too, you have to show progress. I mean, there's different. You're right, but you're also there's different layers to this because building is different now than it was 5-10 years ago. Like I said, you can recruit through high school and through the portal at the same time. You build your program through the high school. You build your team year to year. So year to year is your team. You could build that, enhance that through the portal, but you're building your program through high school, but you're needing to do them both at the same time. I hope I'm making any sense at all here. All right, let's see. Losing Boone for the season is starting to show. Let's see. I'm trying to think.
Trey Smack, man, what a beast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Somebody mentioned the kicking game. I think I lost that one. I'm sorry if I didn't get that up there. Let's see here. Ty says, this is what I've wanted to see all season. Still need help on the O-line and deep passes, but damn, what a game. No quit, fought to the end, didn't throw in the towel, didn't lose their composure, made plays on defense when they needed them, made blocks on offense when they needed them, made clutch throws, made clutch catches. A ball gets tipped, another receiver has the wherewithal to be right there to pick it in the air and gain another 20 yards. You make the interception at the end of the game where they've dropped a few of them this year, but you caught that one. The clutch gene, we saw it today. The clutch gene. We didn't see great football all the way around. I mean, the offense was clicking at times. It wasn't the prettiest of a defensive game, but we saw clutch plays. We saw an offensive line that has some deficiencies, had some key penalties. We saw them step up on those 2 drives where you weren't like, oh, dear God, these guys again. Didn't even notice them. Didn't even notice them on those last 2 drives. That's a good thing. Couldn't agree with you more, Ty. Great commentary there. Max Brown starter next year, he's saying. All right, we'll see. Rough season to start a freshman, talking about 2025. Kevin, I know what you're getting at the schedule next year. You got the SEC schedule, including a game at Texas.
Miami, is it Miami too next year?
Oh, no. You got Miami at home. You got FSU on the road. You got Texas on the road. You also play UCF next year, which that'll be their Super Bowl. So it's murder. But guess what, guys? It ain't getting any easier. Oh, that's 2024. I'm sorry. It's not getting any easier in 2025 because you've got to go to Miami that year. So you know what? You strap on your shoes and you get out there.
There's going to be no one in the stadium, though.
Well, no. Are you kidding me? It's the Florida fans.
I'm just messing. Yeah. I know people.
Listen, hey, you go back to when they played in the 80s, it would be packed with Florida fans. But let me just tell you something here.
Yeah.
The schedule's murder, Kevin, but here's the benefit. The expanded playoff is coming. Okay? Expanded playoff. 9-3 is probably going to get you in the playoff. 10-2 almost got Auburn in 1 year. 11-2 a couple years ago. LSU had 2 losses. You're playing in the SEC, so you can swallow some losses. But if you win, look, in a 12-team playoff, 9 wins in the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas coming is getting you in the playoff. You're going to be a top 12 team. You better be ready for that. So Florida's making progress. We'll see where they're at next year. We'll see that. We still got a long season ahead this year. They're not out of the woods yet. There's still no guarantee they're going to have a winning record this season.
Could you almost say Trey Smack was the MVP just based off how long the field goals were and just the fact he's so young and he had to make some pressure field goals to keep the game alive?
He did. I hadn't even talked about him, Corey. He was 4 or 5 on field goals. The only miss was blocked. That might have been good. We don't know. I believe he's now 11 of 12 on the season. He's been incredibly clutch.
Really deep ones too, strong leg. And I will say, though, you would think a kicker, because they don't get tons of offers, would be an easy recruitment to cover. Trey Smack, I actually had to call his high school just to confirm stuff half the time. He was one of the hardest recruitments for a kicker you've ever
seen. Did they not take him because they missed on Alex McPherson?
So they kind of, they not cooled on him, but they kind of liked Smack a little bit more from what I was told. Hey, that's what I was told.
Hey, I had people.
That's right, because he went to Auburn. That's right.
That's right. Who knows, right? Recruiting's so funny. I love. We'll have to compare stories someday, Corey, because you and I cover different teams for a lot of times, and it's funny how when the school you cover doesn't get a guy, the narrative starts changing and stuff. It's funny. I've seen it on both sides.
Now that you say that, though, I have to look back at it because, like you said, McPherson's brother, was he starting for Auburn or no?
Yeah, he is. He is. But anyway. All right. Let's see. Alexander says, do you see Florida making adjustments in the secondary going forward, especially defending the deep ball? Corey, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think a lot of the stuff, when they're in zone, I thought they played a little bit better. The thing is, too, when you see these safeties, too, with the way Florida plays, they take a lot of chances. I think with Jordan Castell, too. I think he's one of those guys that takes a lot of chances. Miguel and Mitchell, too. They're kind of big play type of players in the secondary. I think overall, it's going to be interesting with this bye week, especially with the Georgia game. I think they're going to make some adjustments, though.
It's going to be interesting to see. They've got
both Brock Bowers. I mean, that's going to be such a big thing.
God. Well, hey, but how
they're going to scheme him.
Well, they're going
to have to change, obviously, from this game.
But Corey, he got hurt today. So we don't know.
I know he got hurt, but how serious was it?
We don't know. The X-rays came up negative, but sometimes a sprain is worse than a break on an ankle. I've seen that many. We don't know. I mean, look, I want my team to beat the other team at full strength, but there are situations. Guys get hurt. That's part of the game. Kevin says, keep this class together and we'll be able to compete next year for almost all the games. It does feel like Florida's trending up, but they needed a win like today. You got to have that proof of concept. They're constantly selling these kids. They didn't tell, by the way, DJ Lagway says they didn't tell me we were going to go 12-0.
Yeah.
They said, hey, Florida's in a rebuild. You're going to be part of the group that gets Florida back to the top. So they didn't BS these kids. They didn't they're prepared for a team to go 6-7 win season. They're prepared for that. Kevin says, how about them Gators? Daddy says, do we think after Mertz got hit? Wait a second. You think after Mertz got hit, he turned into Joe Burrow? He was fantastic down the stretch. And you got to be happy for him, Corey, because you and I both follow college football. I mean, he was really maligned at Wisconsin. The fans were real. I mean, they are at every school. Look,
they were begging for a change at almost every year he was in there. I mean, every single time. It's kind of the same thing Felipe Franks went through when the fans kind of turned on him a little bit.
Yeah. Did Castell get back in after getting hurt? I don't recall.
I don't think so, but that's
just so everybody knows, we're trying to write and do all these things while the game's going on, so we don't always notice the personnel. All right, we're going to wrap it up here in just a minute. 41-39 win. Florida's 5-2 overall, 3-1 in the SEC. Corey, only one game out behind Georgia in the SEC East, controlling their own destiny. Beat Georgia, win out. You're going to Atlanta. Easier said than done. I get it, but they're controlling their own destiny, and I don't know if I would have thought that was possible after the Utah game or even after the Kentucky game.
It's just one of those years. It's just kind of one of those years where everything doesn't have to fall in perfectly for you to kind of make a real late postseason run. And the thing is, too, I think even with Kentucky, I think you're starting to see how good this Kentucky team really is. I thought they were kind of underrated.
We didn't see it last week, though. That's the problem.
No, and that's the thing. I think that was a harder game than what many people thought, especially for a first. Utah, obviously, that's a road game, but your first true road game in the SEC this season, that was a tough one.
But I'm saying Georgia just took Kentucky behind the woodshed last week, 160 yards of offense. I mean, but, it's like that. We say it more for basketball than football, but it is a lot about matchups. I mean, some teams, Corey, you just really match up well with, and other teams you don't. I mean, so
what do you think of the Nicholas? What do you think of seeing Nicholas Harbor finally out there after all the hype that went from last cycle?
You just never really know. I mean, Look, Spencer Rattler battled, kept them in the game. I mean, look, South Carolina played hard. They played a competitive game. This is kind of a season of survival for them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
They've got
thought Florida was relentless, though. I mean, they really pursued him and really made him feel uncomfortable. I thought, too, I mean, it was a fast-paced game in that second half. I thought the way Florida did the rotation was really good, too. Kept bodies fresh and really kept after him. I thought that was the key, really, just keeping Rattler on his toes.
I'm trying to look at the SEC standings right now. There's so many things going on. Did Tennessee, did Tennessee who won that game? Did they lose today? No, they won. They beat A&M. Okay, so look, I mean, that win over Tennessee gets better. Oh, did I lose you, Corey? Oh, there you are.
No, I'm here. Yep. Okay. My thing was saving. That's why.
That win over Tennessee looks better. They're 5-1. Hey, Georgia's got to go to Tennessee too, by the way. So, it's going to look. We're barely over halfway through the season. It's going to be interesting. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a comment. And Gators Online right now, $1. Get your foot in the door for 1 month. $1 for 1 month. Look, go back and look through. They're showing Florida highlights right now. Go back and look through at some of the DJ Lagway stuff we did the last few days. We're trying to do more original content on this YouTube channel, not just for the subscribers, but for other people that may be just trying to figure out who we are. All right. So anyway, we appreciate everybody stopping by. Let me just throw a couple more comments up here. Love the way Mertz went down. He's what can you say more about Graham Mertz today?
Bring Pickett and Stubbs. We have a reaction from Stubbs. We haven't heard back from Pickett, but we should be seeing him.
It's Hilton Stubbs, 4-star safety from Jacksonville Mandarin.
Yep. He was happy. He said he was happy they got the victory, so that was good. I know that's major target for next cycle. So
all right, it's 8:47 Eastern time. Corey, you got some work to do. I've got some sleep to catch up on. Oh, wait, I gotta get one more comment. Hey, when they say good things about me, Corey, I got to throw it up there because fans don't like me too much. Appreciate that comment. 41-39 win, dramatic comeback. I don't know about epic, but pretty amazing comeback for the Florida Gators today. We appreciate everybody stopping by. That's it. We'll do it again soon. Hey, have a safe weekend. Don't party too hard out there tonight, guys. All right. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Relax next week and get ready for the cocktail party. I told Auburn and Bama fans for years, I love the Iron Bowl. It's unique. There ain't nothing like the cocktail party, though. All right, everybody take care. 41-39, Gators 5-2. Big win today. See you guys.